Hi, this is Dr. Justina Agnieszka Chevalier. To be clear also, I'm looking for funds. I need funds for all those things to be done. I have the same plan as described for the RV and tiny houses and persons who want to settle here. That I need to add to this. In collaboration with rangers, if you're a ranger, listen to me, and especially if you're in charge of this. Human is not beneath an animal, and if you protect an animal to be able to be free to roam around, have access to food and be self, you cannot say to a human, get lost because you have no right to sit anywhere or eat or have water, because humans, we are not inferior to animals. So get that in your mind, because we often suffer from that dissociation depending on what job we were trained to do and what we were made to memorize. This means that you can also understand that animals do suffer from cold and are hungry just like humans, and it is okay to leave them feeder, plant-based one, or if there is enough food, not such, depending on what it is that we are butchering up currently and where. I do not want you to understand that this does not have consequences. It does. It increases crime rate, and don't plan it at all, in fact. But if that is already being done somewhere and lying somewhere, stop it, store it, and use it, and cure whatever it is that or whoever it is that was doing such, and provide to animals not only benevolent but other things in forests. Forest as human welfare is our responsibility, and to use those persons not only in Mexico but here also with those permanent addresses to feed animals for sake of selves and others, and there will be much better mood everywhere. Those animals, same as wolves, domesticated ones, and dogs, deserve to be warm, and they deserve to have assistance when needed. Not only dogs and cats, or whatever is domesticated. So as ranger, remember, stupid signs include do not feed animals. It does mean do not throw stuff, because humans, now as a behavior expert I'll tell you, because persons drive, and I used to do that too, and we throw remindings of food as a goodness to animals, it actually triggers seeking instinct in humans and animals, and those humans on streets or walking, actually, there's nothing wrong with us. We all have seeking instinct alongside animals to seek for food, warmth, sugar, water, cigarettes, and whatever it is that is left on the side, thrown away. So don't joke around and don't throw that away, and be specific when you say do not throw away things that are not possible for consumption, rotten, contain poison, and things like that. And do not poison anything, solve it. The same with moth here. I saw those boxes. You kill moth, you have again chain reaction of killing, and you alter ecosystem. What that moth in theory is killing is a plant that is killing, being planted or harvested per exclusion. So killed one, one replaced. So find out what that plant is being attacking, labeled as okay, itemized as okay to kill. Help that plant not kill by limiting in space, by moving the other something, by not harming. And you will not need the glue trap for insects, because that is something that harms humans too, and it causes in messages psychiatric diseases like anxiety, as well as perception of being trapped like claustrophobia and many others, and leads also, if done, to ecosystems then compensation to kill more and more, and extinction. So don't do that. Find better ways. I told you how. Find what is suffering, because we've altered something and it's not perfect yet, and improve there, and then you will know. Signs: do not feed animals. Do feed animals. You feed animals as rangers, and others feed animals. Do not make sure that they have luxury to not kill, just like domesticated dog or the wolf, not by means chicken but also by plant-based food if there is enough plant such, and do allow to alter ecosystem to benefit us, because we are part of it and we can use it. It's not a sculpture, it is something that we can use, not spotlight to place another huge highway and forbid it for walkers while we then all are in wheelchairs, but actually in such way that we function and we are happy and animals are happy at the same rights. So don't ignore them, and if hungry or cold, we'll provide for those animals too, and humans as well in the forest. You don't have to take out puppy. If puppy with mother, for instance, settled escaping from home and place it in salubrity, or how is it called, in shelter, where that is trapped and hungry, and then do the same with humans and put down or nurture or sell, but you can actually allow it to be member of the ecosystem and lay cubs from Flagstaff, for instance. Assist in being warm humans and animals, not hate humans, assist animals, or vice versa, but assist in having, not being forced to killing, hunting, and things like that, and remove threats to kill because somebody is hunting when you don't provide any food because it makes no sense. And the same is with no feeding. Put those feeders if you can. If you cannot, don't do that. But don't be not precise and say, okay, in humans, behavior is modified to seeking trash instead of pursuing food, even if a certain amount of food is possessed, because we offer to animals by throwing away bad food as if they were worse to us. And yes, sure, that is normal, but we humans, we don't prefer to walk on four, and when throwing stuff to dogs, we walk on four. Well, then that is bad because it's actually, as an urge, because the humans and animals will look crazy, and that is not something that we can help when it is something that is offered from humans to humans or from humans to animals, and it actually triggers a seeking instinct as something better or something more accepted. Often it is, but it does not mean that it always is. Berries hanging there, nobody eats them. Well, that sandwich somewhere, dirty one, or a kolache, everybody runs after, even if it costs money. That's not normal. You see, alteration of ecosystem. And so then the step to take in forests, when you're a ranger and when you are also the leader of the group that will go there, for me too, is to be able to not only waive that discovery pass, that should be for travelers who have a car and who want to go visit, put a tent, that type of thing. For persons who want to settle in the area, based on such need, and also make sure, because city will be separate project soon, I will address that also with friendship house and similar ones, how to do it so that it works. But what I'm saying is here is, first, before winter comes, I need funds. I need funds so that police, even though on the radio somebody yelled brutal police and we're not gonna get gift cards, brutal police, brutal gift cards and fund, I have to have a fund, police has to have a fund, firemen need to have a fund, everybody needs to have fund to be able to supplement and help in transition periods. And not as some degradation charity, but when person is able to, it's same as rangers or animal, to settle somewhere and it is useful and person to the greatest of liking want to do so, enable that. So here it is. For example, if you are such ranger, if person comes and says, I want to settle down permanent, can I have permanent address in the middle of the forest? Life and Rescue can enable that and say, okay, can you cope living alone in the forest? I can, but some cannot. And then ask, okay, do you agree, for instance, that if you have the cabin there or whatever it is that you want to construct, that it being permanent address, you will have to go to a certain post where only once, for instance, a month we deliver mail, and you make such arrangements, and the person says, sure, that works for me, and then you agree. Well, what is your, for instance, emergency plan, and how can you assist when there is a natural disaster? Like in Alaska, a person caught fire or was dying. Well, somebody saved after a few times that person from freezing. So it's the same. And so you see, and then you can also agree. Okay, person says, I will not have any money. Can you assure that I can have fruits and vegetables growing there? And when I run out, for instance, give me a permit for a greenhouse. You have those like COVID boxes dropped out or brought to me instead of condescending about the fire, and that person can say yes, sure, and that type of thing will enable housing that we do not sit on one another's head. and we don't impersonate one another's parents, but it is limited, and so enable wild areas, public areas, deserts, and forests for cohabitation with animals to humans forever, in fact. Not illegally in hiding, but legally so. And then also ask where it is that there will be permanent address. Do you want bank account? You don't want bank account? You will have a possibility to have one, and as ranger do so, and then also involve police and others, and consider itself. In Poland my father had friends who were rangers and lived and volunteered as rangers in the middle of a freaking forest, in a cabin, and cabin built by themselves, and it's nothing but saved animals and assisted in cold and things like that, also with hay when it was freezing, so that they can come and warm up if they wanted to. So that is not a fiction, it has to be done now. Apart from that, like I said in Port Angeles, during winter, all of places that have waiting rooms have to be open at night and during the day. It does not mean live there. It means when persons are freezing, traveling, unable to go home, buses stop at 8, run out of money, the bus driver is rigid, cannot take for free. It happens rarely, but happens. The person can sit down in a warm place and will not end up without a leg or barefoot. Open them for seasonally when a winter starts. Do so in the United States, in all states, not only in Port Angeles. If not, use again loud and authoritative statement, be it man or woman, like a person from Parker's, that woman deputy or the deputy assistant, the police officer, or that officer in Kelso, or originator of Kelso, where he's from, I don't know because he didn't leave me his name. And to use that and say, I have right and authority to inform you that if you actively, by impeding opening of a waiting room for a bus stop, a waiting room for a ferry, sale and use in supermarkets, including Safeway, of hot beverages and foods also at night, and the use of that area, you impede that, and person as a result have frostbites or die. I will come, and even if you're a manager or a president of that whole chain, and arrest you. And if not, I will delegate that to a superior or a military branch. Inform that because you have authority to do so, and have courage that you will obtain backup from I and from many others. And be reasonable. You need to know you do that to warn first and make for once use of that, meaning a person refuses to open a waiting route for a bus for 5 years in a row, even though I conducted and others, so do all of the private businesses. People run around then, if lost buses, or to have a beer at least, to not to freeze and not to die, or drink from animal feeders, unable to do anything, end up in OR with chopped off legs, hands, frostbites on the noses, no lips, injuries for life. And now, if you do not take action and use that uniform to work when that is happening and those persons are suffering in real life, from frostbites because winter is coming, and those businesses and public institutions do not open those waiting rooms, and you do not do that, and you do not assist, and there's no cold weather shelter, or it is closed, or it is like being kind of like a favor, or offered to persons instead of housing chronically. That I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about persons who got stuck, lose buses, etc., and end up, and you do not take action, you are guilty by omission of mass murder. So remember that the officer stands for something. You do not have courage to face a manager or a president of an organization and make self a face that person and demand something. You are useless, and quit and do not embarrass yourself, because it is not a beauty parlor.